Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. I will start us off with a few logistical items, provide a quick overview of Index.io, and then we'll dive right into the presentation. This will be a 20-minute presentation with time for Q&A at the end. Please place your questions into the chat window throughout the session, and we'll address them in the Q&A portion. We will be recording this, and a link to the recording will be included in the follow-up email. So as you probably know, the legal world is facing many challenges with electronic discovery: data accessibility, scalability, management, and overwhelming costs, to name a few. Data continues to increase in size exponentially, and old solutions are failing to keep up. But we can help. Welcome to Index.io, a new horizon of corporate data indexing that takes the latest technologies and creates the most comprehensive and advanced electronic discovery tool in the industry. Built from scratch in the cloud, Index.io is fast, effective, and secure, making it the obvious choice for your electronic discovery needs. Although Index.io covers the full eDiscovery waterfront, we deliver way more in value and capabilities. Index.io is a true do-it-yourself intuitive platform. You can get up and running in minutes without ever talking to a sales rep or ever utilizing a project manager. Next, Index.io's auto-scale technology cuts traditional processing times from days to minutes while ensuring quick, accurate results every time. With unmatched search speeds, you always have instant access to the critical items you need for your case. We also offer a free mobile iPad app. With this easy, intuitive, and secure app, you can review, code, redact, and organize your eDiscovery documents no matter where you are. Your work is automatically reflected at Index.io, and you are always in sync with your project. And finally, Index.io is the only eDiscovery solution that provides a daily hosting model. This allows more predictable billing, easier project management, and eliminates minimum hosting charges. There are no long-term restricting contracts, no licensing fees, no user fees, and no minimums per month. Additionally, there is no software or special hardware to purchase. During the presentation, Austin, a support representative here at Index.io, is going to run you through the main mistakes that eDiscovery users make, while also teaching you how to avoid them. Austin?
All right, thanks, Jess, and thanks everybody for joining us today. Like Jess mentioned, if any questions come up during the session, go ahead and hit that Q&A button on your screen, enter your questions, and we'll have some time at the end to address any of those. So mistakes in eDiscovery all kind of relate to three consequences. You have additional costs, additional time, and potentially exposed liability on your case. So we're going to go through kind of the top 10 mistakes that we see happen, what you can do to mitigate those, and kind of what Index.io does anyway, just to make that process smoother. So our first big mistake that we see is that both sides won't have a productive meet and confer. So it's important to set yourself up for success from the beginning and kind of know how the other side is going to expect their data, what load files they need with their set, what file formats they're expecting, if they want PDF or TIFF images, what metadata they want included, what time zone you're going to be using so that everything's standardized. And so all of these are important questions to ask up front because a lot of it's hard to go back and kind of edit after the fact. You're going to be redoing things, adding additional time to your project, incurring additional charges. So some questions that we usually like to ask is, how are duplicates being handled? How are PowerPoints with notes being handled? And how are embedded email objects handled? Those are all settings that in our system you can select up front, and then when you process your data, it's just going to handle those automatically for you. So the big idea here is to avoid redoing tasks. You don't want to be doing things twice, spending double the money, doubling your time on it. It's important to have that meeting so you know what they're looking for, what they're expecting of you, and then everyone gets the data as they expected the first time around. Our second big mistake here is that there's just kind of no plan sometimes. You get data and you're ready to go off to the races, throw it in a platform, start using it. And so it's important to come up front and just kind of avoid over-collecting data or even missing data. It's important to know kind of the scope of your project so you know what you're looking at. If you over-collect, that's not a super critical issue. You might end up with some additional costs on there, but missing data is a pretty big thing that can happen. And that's, you've got missing liability then, because the other side's going to be asking, well, we have this, and what happened to that? We never got it from you. So it's important to kind of be proactive about that rather than react when these situations come up, and making a plan in the first place can help you guys with that. Number 3 is not documenting your process. A lot of people don't kind of track what's done. So Index.io actually will handle a lot of this for you. We have a complete project audit log for our system, so anything that you do, it gets tracked. It's got a per user breakdown, so whoever's in the project doing searching, tagging items, it's going to let you know which person did it, at what time, what happened. And so every event gets tracked. It's easy to go back and work through your workflow and see what exactly happened. And that way, who handled the data, and you're using technology that has a defensible process. You can justify what was done. And that way you're avoiding doing things like reviewing native files in Outlook. I see this happen sometimes where people will open up a PST file and they'll start taking emails, moving them into a folder so they can export just that folder. And at that point, you're modifying your source data. And it's hard to go back from that, because once you've done it, it's adjusted it. And so it's important to use a system like ours that's going to maintain a record of all of your original native files and then track what work was done on those. Another thing I see people try to do sometimes is branding original records. So if you had a bunch of PDFs, some people might just open those up in Outlook or in Adobe, and throw a Bates number right on there. And as soon as you do that, your metadata is messed up. It's going to change your modified dates. It's going to look like that record was edited later than it actually was. And now you no longer have an original copy of that PDF if you decide to just save a Bates numbered version of that over the top of it. So it's important to use a technology like ours that's going to maintain all of that original source data. Number 4 is not continuously learning. So it's kind of important, regardless of your industry, to always be a student. You don't need to make things harder than they need to be. There's new tools always coming out, and it's important to kind of learn those and how to use them and know what the best tool for the particular job you're doing is. So something that we train on a little bit is how to handle password protected files. Sometimes if you get a password protected file, people just don't know how to handle it. They'll ignore them. And there's a lot of good info in there that can be critical to your case. And so we identify password protected files for you. We actually let you enter your passwords into our system. And then when you process your data, if we run across anything that's encrypted, it's going to try those passwords. It'll decrypt them, pull the contents out, and let you review those. Another thing that we train on is what junk files look like. So automatically, we're going to do a DNIST of your data. And that's just a list that we maintain of kind of an industry recognized junk files. So we compare our system's hash that gets created to this big list of hashes, and it's going to automatically pull those files into a set that you can look at and remove from your set, so that you're not producing data that's just not going to be helpful to anyone. Beyond that, if you find that there's files in your set that are going to be showing up repeatedly, so maybe you found a junk file and you want to find other junk files like that, we've got search tools that'll let you get in there and easily search for similar file extensions or MIME types to find other junk data that's similar to that one. So number 5 is poor time management. I see this quite a lot. Our system is very quickly able to process data. So, people will wait till last minute and kind of expect it to get through very quickly. They won't plan for their processing or their export time. So it's important not to wait till the last minute or the same day. We recommend people generally give at least 24 to 48 hours of prep time for when they start loading data in and want to start searching and getting that prepared for production. Because our system, we do have some things we can do to mitigate that. Our environment is completely scalable. So if you are up against a deadline, we can add extra servers to your set. It'll get through, process faster, create images quicker. But there are limits to that. We do have on-demand reviewers available. So if you're behind on your deadlines, you're just not quite getting things reviewed as quickly as you need, you can submit a request to us and we'll put you in touch with one of our partners. And you can let us know how many people you need, what times you need them from. They're all trained in our platform. They can get in and review your data for you and kind of assist that if you're falling behind a little bit. We also offer a project burn down chart. This is just going to give you a nice view of how many batches have you created, how much data is in your project, what's been reviewed so far, and how many items you need to hit each day to meet your goals. So number 6 here is not sharing knowledge. So it's important not to be caught off guard when the unexpected happens. If you have somebody leave your firm, it's important not to have a single point of failure. You know, you run up against this quite a lot, or we see this quite a lot, where someone will leave a firm, they're the only person with access to a project. Now all of a sudden they're gone, they didn't leave their password for anybody. And so no one has access. They have to come to us and be like, how do I get back into this project? So it's important to have multiple people on a project, multiple people who know what's going on, what's being done, and having a plan for when people are going to leave. And just the overall idea here is redundancy, making sure that, you know, there's no one place that if this person leaves, oh man, we're totally out of luck now. Like nothing is going to go smoothly after that. Number 7 here is not leveraging available tools and technology. So it's important to kind of build your toolbox and know what tools are going to be right for the correct situation. And that helps you simplify your workflow. You know, it's really inefficient if you're trying to use a tool that's not really built for what you're trying to use it for. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're trying to review files in Outlook or brand things with Adobe, it's just slow to do. It adds time to your project. It's going to add costs. So it's important to kind of do things in the right order. Make sure up front, if you have PST files that you're concerned about being damaged, you know, run those through a PST repair program before you process them. And that makes sure that all of your data comes out as correct as it can possibly be. Something else that we see happen sometimes is people will skip foreign language documents just because they don't have a tool to translate those. They're not familiar with working with that kind of data. And so we actually have auto translation built into our platform. If you find a foreign language document, you can hit the translate button in our system. It's going to automatically translate that for you, give you the text, make it searchable. And we also can do custom translation if you have a translation professional who wants to come in and do the manual translation on your document. They can do the same thing, enter their text for it. It'll make it all searchable, and it's all built into our system so that you're not just skipping those kind of documents. Number 8, I see this one happen sometimes. It's not QCing your data prior to production. A lot of people will load data in and expect it just to go perfectly. So it's important to go in and kind of verify that your image quality, analyze any problem files that come up, and then handle those exception files appropriately. And we try to make this very easy for you. If you go to export your data and there's any issues that we've identified, we're going to give you a summary of those. We'll let you know how many processing exceptions are in your set, if anything came out without any pages, if there are any duplicates or redacted items in your set. And then right in that export process, you can just decide to exclude those, go back and review them later, and then run a supplemental production later that includes that data. So number 9 is not building a network of resources. It's important to utilize all of the available parties because you don't need to be on your own working through your data and just kind of going through it haphazardly. So, I mean, if you have a support team, your internal IT, external consultants, it's important that you know who's available. We offer a support team that can answer questions about your data, train you on how to use the tool. We've got live support during our business hours. You can call us up, use our live chat, let us know what you need help with, and we're here to help. We've got tons of help articles and videos that explain how to use our tool, kind of get you familiar with it. And we've got a lot of easy to read charts and graphs that help you analyze your data and find out more about what's going on with it. And our last, number 10 here, is not having a plan for post-litigation. So once you're wrapping up on your case, what are you going to do about project archives? Are you going to host your data somewhere still? What's kind of the end goal? Are you looking for a cold storage? Do you want to take everything offline so it's not incurring costs? Do you want to leave it and have minimal costs with someone but still have it accessible? And just where's all that data going once your case wraps up? How is it going to be stored? And so we've got some easy options where you can hibernate and reactivate your project just with a click of a button. If you put it into hibernation, it's not going to be accessible, but it is going to be significantly reduced hosting costs. And if you need to get back in, you can unhibernate it. And since we have a daily hosting model, you could go in, access your data for one day, just pay for the full price for that one day, put it back in hibernation, and then it's back in storage. It's easy to access, and you're not paying, full price to host it, and you're not taking it completely offline where it's just totally gone. And so those are kind of our top 10 issues that we see So you want to avoid paying extra costs on things that don't need to be done twice, extending the time on how long your project's going to take, and exposing yourself to additional liability because things were done incorrectly. So check us out. Our website there is www.index.io. Sign up for a free account. You can get in there. Everyone gets a trial project. They can add data, use our system, see how our tool works, and determine if that's going to be a good fit for you. All right, Jess, have we had any questions come in?
We haven't had any come in yet. Does anybody have any questions? If so, please enter them in the Q&A box.
I just saw one come in about our pricing. So if you go to our website, we've got this handy pricing calculator now. You can come over here in the top right, go to our pricing page, and hit this pricing calculator, and that's going to help estimate what your costs are going to be for your project. It'll give you kind of a rough idea of how much data you're putting in and what that's going to look like over the life of the project. So definitely check that out. All right, well, thanks everybody for joining us. We'll send out a recording of this video, and I hope you have good luck on your next eDiscovery project.